Grand Theft Auto games are just full of weird secrets and Easter eggs. Some of them so obscure and hard to find it took years for fans to finally decipher them. Hell, some things still have fans scratching their heads, desperately trying to find the next clue that might not even exist. This is Rockstar we're talking about. They create worlds so detailed and realistic feeling that it's easy to think they could hide anything in there. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on GameRanks, 6 Grand Theft Auto Easter eggs and secrets found years later. Starting off at number 6 in Grand Theft Auto 3, the Upstate region. In Grand Theft Auto 3, there's a large section of the map known to fans as Upstate Liberty that's inaccessible through normal means. Really, it's just meant to be background scenery, to make the world look like it extends beyond the boundaries of the playable portion of the game, just basically to make things feel more real. But we know gamers, if they see something in the distance they're not meant to go, they will find a way to go there. With some pretty careful use of the dodo, and remember this is Grand Theft Auto 3, that plane wasn't designed to be able to fly very far in the game, you can reach the boundaries of the map and fly through these hills. That was the hard part that took players a long time to pull off, and at this point I wasn't able to find a definitive timeline of just when someone was able to get into the upstate area, but it took a while. Once you're here, the game becomes increasingly unstable. Freezing and crashing isn't just likely, it's pretty much certain as you go further off the beaten path. Still, there's some pretty interesting stuff to find here, like the Cedar Ridge Observatory, which you can get a better look at, these spots up on the map that seem to be named after different programmers who worked on the game, and the Ghost Town, a section of the map used for the opening cutscene of the game. It's actually a pretty interesting area to look at because the level of detail is actually higher than the regular game world. This may be because of technical limitations, or maybe because the area was developed near the end of production. Either way, it's cool to compare some of the details in the Ghost Town to how Grand Theft Auto 3's map ended up looking. On Rockstar's website in 2012, they put out a statement regarding this area, basically admitting it was never meant to be found, but that they're impressed players managed to find a way to get there. Sure, you can use cheats and mods to get there now, but back in the day it was pretty much just using the dodo or nothing, so the fact people were able to fly that thing for any length of time and find this stuff is pretty impressive. Like, I can barely get off the runway in that thing. And at number 5 in Grand Theft Auto 5, the Infinity Killer. This is a bit of an unusual one because the actual conclusion to the mystery was discovered fairly quickly. It's the details that took a little bit longer to find. During the story of Grand Theft Auto 5, you'll probably end up hearing an offhand mention or two of a serial killer from 1999 called the Infinity Killer, a pretty obvious reference to the Zodiac Killer, whose murder shocked the state and whose victims were never found. But you can find the bodies if you look hard enough. All 8 victims can be found in and around the small cluster of islands north of Mount Chiliad, all of them wrapped up in plastic or something along the sea floor. It'd be weird enough if the story stopped there, but random clues and information about the Infinity Killer can be found all over the place. There's a burned out house in Sandy Shores with weird scrawling on the remaining walls, stuff like 8 is just infinity stood up, and there will be 8. Look at some rocks near his home and you'll even find some more crazy man writing, this time a rhyme which seems to relate to the killer's 8 victims. Inside Bolingbroke Penitentiary, you'll find even more clues, like this graffiti on the recreation yard that reads, "Where water meets land and fire once spewed forth, the infinite 8 shall lay until I return," which points to where the bodies are eventually found. Probably the most mysterious thing in these bloody footsteps near the billiards table and the 8 ball. You can even find some barrels and trash cans with the bloody look 8 on them. It's all pretty spooky, right? So is there any more to this than surprisingly detailed world building for players to discover out there on their own? Probably not, but as we've seen with this list, that hasn't stopped people from speculating anyway. And moving along to number 4 in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, some secret cheats. These were only recently discovered in 2019. These cheats aren't actually from the original version of San Andreas. Rather, they're found in the mobile version of the game, which just so happens to be the same version used for Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 ports. The developer of this particular version, Wardrum Studios, added in cheats like the ability to skip missions, get certain weapons, become invincible, which surprisingly wasn't a cheat in the PS2 version of the game, and other really powerful effects. They were mostly added for testing purposes, but the keyboard shortcuts still work, as long as you've got a keyboard to connect to your mobile device. The cheats themselves aren't actually that interesting, but the fact that it took around 6 years for someone to discover them is pretty impressive, and that just goes to show the lasting appeal and fan interest of this amazing game. Moving on to number 3, Grand Theft Auto 5's Cryptozoologist. Here's another Grand Theft Auto 5 Easter egg which took a while to solve. When Rockstar released the next-gen version of GTA 5 in 2015, they added a few new features, mostly small stuff, but one of the weirdest things was the addition of peyote plants that can be found in some pretty random locations around the map. You eat some of it and, hey, you're now an animal. This lasts for a little while, then you turn back to normal. Outside of being a weird and amusing addition, there didn't seem to be a lot else to it, at least until people saw the description for this achievement, which you get for collecting all 27 peyote plants. That description is the cryptozoologist. You unlocked all animals for use in Director Mode. Or did you? Director Mode just basically lets you play as NPCs, be they human or animal, but the achievement implies there's some secret animals left to be found. Players began searching the game files for any graphics or audio files or scripts that may contain references to any undiscovered animals, and eventually found out about the existence of secret gold peyote, which only appears at specific locations on specific days and only between 5:30 and 8 a.m. and when it's foggy. Oh, and also they only appear if you're in the process of completing the mission, the last one, where you help out a Bigfoot hunter. And that only appears if you 100% of the game. So there's a lot of requirements for these things to appear. Find one of these incredibly difficult to find things and you'll get a vision of Bigfoot, and when you regain consciousness, you'll find a dead animal nearby. You'd think that'd be it, but after further digging into the game files, people discovered that eating a gold peyote in a certain order, from Sunday to Saturday, would trigger a unique event. During a hallucination as Bigfoot, you'll find the Bigfoot hunter from the last one dead on the ground, and you can follow a series of bodies to the Thompson scrapyard where the beast will attack you, and it's Teen Wolf. You know the 1985 Michael J. Fox movie? It's a werewolf head with a varsity jacket, and that's what all this mystery's been leading towards. At least you unlock the beast and Bigfoot for Director Mode, so you get something for all the trouble, despite it all being completely insane. 2 is the Bigfoot in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. The most famous myth and Easter egg from Grand Theft Auto San Andreas is, of course, the Bigfoot, the mythical monster widely rumored to be found somewhere in the game's gigantic map. There had always been Easter eggs and secrets in GTA games, but with the huge size and ambition of San Andreas for the time came huge expectations for the fans for some really surprising secrets. And the supposed Bigfoot and the hunt to find it became the singular obsession of secret hunters from almost day one of the game's release. When the news hit about the hot coffee controversy and the hidden files in the game, people's expectation to find something only grew. Of course, in hindsight, it's easy to say that if modders were able to find the hot coffee files, then why didn't they find any of the Bigfoot stuff in the game's code? But for a long time, the possibility was there. Perhaps there's a phantom code that would only become visible when certain conditions were met. I mean, this is Rockstar we're talking about, so it's not impossible. I mean, technically speaking, it's not possible on account. In order to do that, you'd probably have to be connected to the internet, and most versions of Grand Theft Auto San Andreas had no internet connectivity, but whatever. It didn't take too long for people to claim they'd found Bigfoot when offering some ridiculous sequence of events you have to trigger to get him to appear, like going to Mount Chiliad at a certain time on a certain day, under certain weather conditions, and there'll be a 1% chance you'll see a blurry silhouette or something. Eventually, modders started making their own Bigfoot models and porting them into the game for kicks. People were going Bigfoot crazy until Terry Donovan, one of the co-founders of Rockstar Games, set the record straight. He said, "There is no Bigfoot, just like in real life." This seemed to answer the question, but of course, this being the internet, some people just assumed that he was giving another cryptic clue. GTAMythsFandom.com suggests that Dan Houser, another co-founder and head writer on San Andreas, said in an interview Bigfoot was actually created for the game, but only released in beta. The problem being, this interview seems to have disappeared from the face of the earth and remains uncredited, so it's possible that a Bigfoot was intended to be in San Andreas and maybe even was in it in a beta. If you trust information that doesn't exist anywhere anyways. Like, you have to choose to believe a random unsourced statement in a wiki that can be edited by any person. There is a simpler, but unfortunately less interesting answer, which is that there was never a Bigfoot in the game. Either way, the Bigfoot has certainly made an appearance in other Rockstar games like Red Dead Redemption Undead Nightmare, where you can hunt and kill the last remaining Bigfoot in a pretty downer mission, and in Grand Theft Auto 5, which was pretty much the same setup to the mission in Undead Nightmare, but this time you end up shooting a role player in a Bigfoot costume instead. But those Bigfoots would have never existed if there wasn't such an intense fan interest in finding Bigfoot in San Andreas, and it remains one of the biggest and most notable video game myths of all time.
Can't believe I'm gangbanging with Bigfoot.
And finally, at number 1, the Mount Chiliad mystery. You know, from Grand Theft Auto 5. This is the big one, the mystery to beat all other mysteries in the GTA series. On top of Mount Chiliad at the cable car station, there's a weird mural covered in symbols and lines. There's a UFO, an egg, and a jetpack on there, all connected to what seems to be an eye above a mountain. Trying to solve this thing has been an obsession of a certain subset of gamers for nearly 7 years now. There's even an entire subreddit dedicated to figuring this thing out. Some people think it's solved, others aren't so sure, and of course Rockstar isn't saying anything, so all anyone can really do is look at the facts and decide for themselves. What we do know is that progress on solving the Mount Chiliad mural went absolutely nowhere until the next-gen release of the game. Early on, most people seemed to think that solving this mystery would unlock a jetpack for you to use, one of the most iconic, vehicles you can get in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, but after years of searching, no jetpack was ever found. What was discovered was probably what the red eye was supposed to indicate, as well as a message on the nearby observation deck that said, "Come back when your story is complete." If you beat the game and get 100% completion, then come back to the observation deck during a storm at 3 AM and a UFO will be there. Some people think that's all there was to the Chiliad mystery, and maybe they were right, but many weren't satisfied with that conclusion and continued to search for clues. Things never progressed far in those early years, not until Rockstar released the enhanced next-gen version of the game in 2015. In that, they added a few new cryptic clues that potentially pointed to more that could be discovered from the Mount Chiliad mural. Some of these, like the cryptozoologists, ended up being completely unrelated Easter eggs, but the search heated up once again to finally unlock the jetpack or get an alien gun or some kind of reward for all this effort. Well, in 2017, people finally got their jetpack from the Grand Theft Auto Online update called Doomsday Heist. In it, you find a secret bunker built under Mount Chiliad containing nuclear warheads from an insane tech billionaire that wants to destroy San Andreas. So yeah, GTA Online goes places. But the main takeaway from this is that in the climax of the mission, you get a jetpack. So there seems to now be an explanation for pretty much the entire mystery. The eye on top is a clue for seeing the UFO. The UFO symbol is a UFO. The cracked egg is a clue about the first Epsilon tract, which is found on the observation platform after finishing all the Epsilon cult missions. Oh yeah, and a thing about the Epsilon cult is that they believe the world was hatched from an egg, so that's the egg symbol, and the jetpack, well, that was added to the game in 2017 with an update. Is that all there is to it? For a lot of people who still post on our Chiliad mystery, the answer is no. And on one level, I can't blame them for thinking that, because if it stops there, then the ultimate resolution for this thing is kind of lame for something that people spent so much time trying to figure out. On the other hand, Rockstar has never been above making an elaborate joke at the player's expense, so this whole thing may have been one big troll. Either way, it was pretty interesting stuff.
Enough of that!
That's all for today. Leave us a comment, let us know what you think. If you like this video, please click like, and if you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week, and the best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription. As always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at Falcon Hero. We'll see you next time, right here on GameRanks.